I've got this expression I've been using for years, and it's that the rules change when you turn on the scoreboard. If there's a way to compare your performance to somebody else's, apples to apples, people can get downright competitive. Not intentionally, it just happens. And when we're talking reviews, you can see where that can easily take over, because first off, there's 5-star reviews, and then of course Google and Yelp, they clearly put the number of reviews that somebody has. And if you're giving your side eye to your competition, trying to see what they got versus what you got, it's very easy to spend a lot of energy focused on the raw numbers, when what you really should be focused on is something a little bit more nuanced. Let's talk about it. Hey there, how you doing? It's Chris, your friendly neighborhood internet Sherpa, back again with another one of those tips on how to bring bodies through the door, put cheeks in the seats, and of course, build your list. Today, we're going to get a little tactical. We've been hitting you with a bunch of theory. Today, I'm going to give you some tools to throw in the rucksack to tote along with you as you're fixing up or putting together your review game, because it's very easy to get wrapped around the axle, focusing in the wrong area if you don't understand what's most important when it comes to reviews. I want to make sure that you have 20/20 vision when it comes to your review profile, and more specifically, what people are paying attention to when they're checking out your review profile. And when I say people, I mean your future customers. All right, so there's 3 things. There's just 3 areas, 3 places where people can pay attention to. 1 is the star rating. 2 is the actual quantity, the number of reviews that you have. And 3 is the words, meaning the actual review, the words that people use when they write the reviews, and the words you use when you're responding to reviews. So let's take those all in turn. The first one and the easiest one to talk about is the star rating, because it seems that it's very easy to go, I want a 5-star rating. Okay, cool. That's hard to do, and it's not necessary, because when it comes to the star rating, context matters more than the decimal. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say that you had 2 companies that you're comparing, because you want to throw your business in that direction. One has a 4.7 rating, but 350 reviews. The other one that you're looking at has a solid 5.0, but they've only got 12 reviews. You see how right off the bat, when I just said that, your brain automatically gravitated towards the 350 reviews because it seems more established. It seems like, hey, there's something going on there. It's like, it's not an apples to apples comparison. Now, you may do a little bit more digging, but right off the bat, your brain is making a distinction. All right. The whole purpose of your reviews is you want them to help you, not hurt you. You don't want them to be a roadblock, something that buoys you and picks you up. You don't want it to be a negative decision point. And if you don't have enough reviews, it becomes a negative decision point when you're being compared to somebody else. Now, in addition to the number of reviews, before we get into that, let's ask a simple question. It's not simple. How many reviews should you have? I mean, if you're competing, how many should you have? And I'm going to tell you there's no set number, but there's a concept. You want to have enough reviews that it's not distracting. And what do I mean by that? Well, remember that 350 versus 12? That 12 is distracting. That 350 is not. So how do you figure out what number is non-distracting in your market? Well, the technique that I like to recommend to people is actually pretty simple. Watch this. You go over to Google and you type in a service that you provide and this location where you're at, because you want the Google 3-pack to come up. All right, and the Google 3-pack is this little bad boy right here. And what you do is you click down where it says more businesses, and that's going to take you to places, and it's going to show you all these businesses. Now on this page right here, there's 20 businesses. There's always 20 businesses. You don't care about if it has more than one page. You don't care. Anybody who's not on the first page of this right here, irrelevant for our purposes. So there's 20 businesses right here. What you do is you count up the number of reviews for all of these businesses and then divide by 20. And that gives you what I call the non-distracting number. That's your base number that you want to start at. Because if you have that number, then no matter how many reviews anybody else has, it doesn't take away from you. So example, we're looking at this one right here. You see these people have 273 reviews. These have 22, 29, 14, 167. I guarantee if you sit these 167 next to this person that's got 273, it's not going to be that big an ish. You know what I'm saying? And if you average all these up, whatever number you end up at, that's going to be your start number. It's not a distraction. and that's what you're looking for. Okay, so that's a nice little tool that you can take with you. Now, there's one other thing. Well, there's something else that I want to bring up when it comes to the reviews. We were talking about the 4.8 or 4.7 with 350 reviews versus the 5.0 with 12 reviews. The downside of having not a lot of reviews is what happens when someone leaves you a negative review. And I know in the past I said there's no such thing as a negative review, but we're talking about a review that you don't want sitting front and center. Your velocity, the number of reviews, how fresh your reviews matters. It matters from a tactical perspective, and it matters from a perception perspective. That's two words that you don't normally smash next to each other. So let's talk about it from a tactical point of view. If someone gives you a negative review, let's say they drop a 1.0 on you for whatever reason, they're a hater of the highest magnitude. You need to get that bad boy off the front page. There are reasons where Google will, criteria where Google goes, that's not a valid one, and will have it removed. But let's just say it doesn't meet that. It's going to sit there. If you have a high velocity, if you're asking for reviews and getting them on a regular basis, that 1 star gets pushed down. It no longer has primacy. It's still going to be in there. It's going to drop your 5.0 to a 4.9 or something like that, 4.9, 4.7. But the thing that's important is it's not standing there waving at somebody who's checking you out, because very seldom is someone going to go deep into your profile to see what's going on. So you want to push that down. So you want to keep getting fresh reviews to get that one out the way. The other reason why you want fresh reviews is because freshness kind of matters. If you have that person that's got 350 reviews and their most recent review was a year ago versus someone who's got, say, 75 reviews and they're getting 2 this month, 2 last month, and all that, and they're just consistently going, again, that distraction goes in the other direction. You're like, why so long? These are the things you don't want people asking about your review profile. So the velocity matters in 2 ways. 1, it pushes down negative reviews if they do show up. And 2, it shows that people are still throwing their 2 cents in about how you do what you do. So that's very, very important. So remember that. Okay, so we talked about the star rating. We talked about the quantity and the velocity of reviews. Now we're going to talk about the words. Now the words are huge. The reason that they're huge, obviously, because you know that you want people to say the right things. You want them to say good things about you and all that good stuff, because it influences the platforms and it influences people. The thing that's important is you want to make sure that if you coach your people to leave your reviews, the easiest way to coach them is say, hey, I'd love if you leave me a review and tell people what we did for you. Because what you want, best case scenario, is from them to mention the service you provided in the review. Now that's huge because, again, it's an indicator to the search engines, oh, you do this. It's an indicator to people who may be searching in Google, searching Yelp for that business. Oh, here it is, because you'll see sometimes in Google and you'll see sometimes in Yelp will highlight that the words that you typed in are in the actual review. So it does have some impact. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is that when you respond to those reviews, you want to make sure that you understand that you're not responding to the person who wrote the review. You're writing your response for all the people who are going to be watching that review or looking at that review later. And what I mean by that is you tell something about how you run your business, how you feel about your clients, by what you put in that review. They can tell by your responses whether or not you're just checking the block. Hey, thank you very much. And that's all you put down because you're just doing what you're supposed to, as opposed to whether you're actually talking to that person, whether you have any intent in there. Intent, I guess, is the worst, not a good word, but a word that says, hey, you actually were responding. You're talking to that person. You care about your clients, and they can pick that up from your responses. And even if somebody leaves you a negative review, which happens from time to time, how you respond to that matters. I mean, I think we've talked about this before, and if not, we're going to. Don't type angry, because you're not writing to respond to that person. You're talking to the next person who's going to be looking at it so that you can say, this is how we do. This is how we respond. This is how we work with our clients. And that's the most important. You're telling a story with your response. And the thing about their reviews that I want to make sure I bring this along is that it gives people an understanding of how they feel about you and how they feel about the work you do, how you care, how you take care of and all that good stuff, because that comes out in a good, honest review. So the words are hugely important. It's not just to check the block. It's, almost forgot one other thing. You know how I said that this is free range content and it helps the platforms? And I mentioned that you want to coach your clients to put the service that they provided in the review by asking the question in the correct way. Sometimes they don't. But the cool part is when you respond, that's an opportunity for you to go ahead and slip that service in there in your response. So that's another benefit of you doing your response. There's all kinds of coolness going on there. So you can see it's not just, hey, could you leave me a review, and you go deuces and you're happy because someone left you a review. There's an entire process going on here. And if you understand what's going on, you can understand how it's very easy for two people with the same amount of reviews. One is much stronger than another one. It's just the way it is. So now that you understand exactly what's going on with the stars, with the quantity, with the actual words, now you're an informed person and you can go forth and do good things. And like I said, this is all part of a big picture on how this online marketing thing works. This is the same thing that's been going on forever. Now, if you want, and here comes the plug, if you want to look at it, that look at how this game is played, big picture, so you understand what you're supposed to be doing, hop on over to c2local.io/free thing so you can get my overview of local marketing. It just takes you to a page, you read, there's a video on it. So if you're not into reading, you can just listen to my pithy descriptions and then get what you need so that you can start being a smarter person about your online marketing. Okay? So keep this information, adapt what you're doing, understand the game that's being played, and then play to win. All right, I'll talk to you later. Next week, we're going to get even more tactical than we did this week, because now we're getting towards the end of this little series, and it's time to actually put together what you should do. All right, I'll talk to you next time.